So let's talk of theory versus practice of investing. When I see many journalists who have personally not done much investments, Ikatuka they have bought some shares which have done well, or Ikatuka they bought some shares which have not done well. They have put some money in mutual funds and they have been paid well. So it doesn't matter that their investments don't do well. So it's okay. So that's how they lived their life. Then you get into wondering that whether you can talk about investing and what you can talk about investing. So first thing is to pick up some theories and say these are good theories. Believe me, no theory works well for life. Buffett has gone wrong recently very, very badly. And if you read Ken Fisher says beyond the age of 70, Phil Fisher made a lot of mistakes. So, but Buffett and Charlie Munger are 90 and 95 and they're doing well. So, right, so even the theory that beyond 70 you should not be handling your own money, you should be putting money in an index fund may not be absolutely right. What has happened in case of Buffett is he's got some early calls very right and he had the guts to put big money and stay on for a very long period of time. Exactly like Rakesh getting certain things right and having the guts to put big money. That is right. That's important, right? Assuming you and Rakesh Jhunjhunwala found Titan at the same time, would you have had the guts to leverage and put money into it? Would you have had the guts to leverage at all? Forget whether you would have bought the same quantity, right? So that's important. Would you have put 20% of your net worth into one share? Right? Few people can do that, but if you can't do that, then the theories don't matter, right? So all theories don't hold. Some theories hold for some time. For example, gold is a great investment in times of a crisis, and in times of a crisis it does so well that last few years of not doing anything gets wiped out, and going forward maybe you will see a lot more crisis. So therefore maybe gold is a good investment, but that is the reason why gold is a good investment, not because the dollar will get weak, etc. Do not believe all these theories about the US getting weaker. I've heard these stories over the last 100 years, at least 5-6 times it has been called, saying abhi dollar weak ho jayega, yen aayega. Believe me, those theories, I've seen those theories. Not that it can't happen, right? So I have a hedge. I have some money in US dollar, but I have most of my money in Indian rupees. So that's my hedge. But if the dollar crashes, what will happen to the rupee? I don't want to guess, right? So remember that all theories won't hold for all time. So what Peter Lynch said or what Buffett said for the 1960s and 70s in the US may not work for us in the 2020s of India, right? So we are a different country. World market is not now so easy as it was in the 60s and 70s. For example, it is very difficult for China to expand its geography because every inch that they take, the world is watching through satellite and posting pictures, right? It is far more difficult for China to do whatever it wants, unlike US, which did whatever it wants, or UK. UK in the 1920s and 30s did whatever it wanted, and in the 1940s, the 50s, US did whatever it wants through the agencies that it controls, right? But today China doesn't have all that luxury. Let's see how things pan out, right? So no one theory holding true for all times. That just not happen, because many Indian companies are many companies which sell their products in India are not listed in India. So if you want to buy a Samsung car, that's great, but you can't buy a Samsung share. Sorry, you can buy a Hyundai car, you can buy a Samsung television, you can buy a OnePlus phone, but those companies are not listed in India, right? So then there's another theory which says invest in the index and everything will be fine. But well, a Prashant Jain or a Naren Shankaran or a Suku or Anand Radhakrishnan or who have you, Ramdev Agarwal, none of them will agree because they regularly beat the index even on a TRI basis, right? So yes, different parts of their portfolios do well at different times, but over a 5-10 year period almost all their funds would beat the TRI, right? So if you don't want, if you think that you can be mediocre and keep on putting money into one mediocre thing called the index, you will make money. Sometimes you may be right, but there will be 5 things which are pulling the index, and that's fine because you've invested in those 5. Because if you had missed out those 5, you've done very badly. For example, Franklin India Blue Chip has a view that they will not buy Reliance, and it is taken a hammering, right? So that's a fund manager call, fund manager ego, fund manager call, whatever you want to call it, but they don't invest in Reliance, so it has taken a hit. Whereas if you just put money in the index, all these funds would not have performed as well as the index, because the index went up due to very lopsided 5-6 shares going up. Now if you had an equal weighted index, that also wouldn't have done well, but the equal weighted index will start doing well because the same 5-6 won't do well. So next time when you create your own portfolio, if you have dropped these 5 and taken some other 5, well, that's luck, right? So you might be better off in the index, but there is no theory which says index will always do well. If anything, I would call it the recency effect. Recently, index has done better than many of our fund managers. That I agree. Remember, advisors have to make money for you. Whatever they know, whether they know investing, whether they know advising, if they know investing, very good, they have to make money for you. I have seen a fund manager, or what I would not know whether I would call him an advisor or a fund manager. He manages funds for a few families, 15, 16 families, and he's got some portfolios where he's got 70% CAGR, right? Now that is huge in this market, but he does everything. He does real estate, he does bill discounting, he does equity trading, deep value trading, long-term investing, and he promises people completely outrageous kind of returns, and he gets it for them also, right? So whereas if I am a journalist, I have to come on television and tell you what looks good on that day, right? Today, आज मेरे को लगता है कि because of this problem in China, we shouldn't be doing this. Oh, this corona problem is there, therefore you should not be investing. I can just give gyan, go away. It doesn't matter what my view is. Whereas an advisor has to earn money for you. So 70% CAGR this guy used to get. Now he's getting something like 40-45% CAGR. I think it's amazing. Of course, he takes risk. There is no doubt about that. But still, this kind of CAGR is unheard of, right? So there are people who achieve this because they take bets, which are some 65% of the portfolio could be in one share. He does take such bets. So, well, there are some people who do this, and there are some people who believe that indexing will work. So you choose what you want to do. Nothing right or wrong. Then a lot is spoken about research, कि मैंने ये research करके ये पता किया, वो पता किया, but still you really don't understand much as you need to. For example, somebody forgot to tell Bill Gates that Microsoft will do very well. So Bill Gates had a lesser share than some other people. I'm sure you all know the whole story, right? So that can also happen, that we can talk about research and all that, and everybody thinks everybody else knows. Who would think that Bill Gates doesn't know about what will happen to the price of Microsoft? Of course he didn't know. If he knew, he wouldn't have sold that and bought something else, right? So similarly, Steve Jobs wouldn't have sold Apple to buy shares of Walt Disney. Well, these things happen. You are the owner, you own 80%, 70%, and you want to reduce risk by selling some of that and buying something else, and the other one could do very badly, right? So all the possibilities are there. Remember that all these possibilities exist. Don't look for consistency. That is only for journalists who are writing articles saying the fund is very consistent, etc. It does not matter. Fund need not be considered consistent. Fund has to give you good returns. Whatever is the standard deviation, that has to be covered. That's all. You can't say there should be no standard deviation. And obviously you should not ask the fund manager for money halfway through the journey, because even in debt market, liquidity is a problem. So debt market is more like a small and mid cap. So asking for money in between does not work. Does not work even in a debt fund. Definitely does not work in an equity fund. Every part of your portfolio need not follow a pattern. Somewhere you could be value, somewhere you could be deep value, right? All those possibilities exist. Remember that